Boop. Hello all. So today is a bit different. We're taking a look at something different today, This is a rare occasion. For the second time in this game's history, we've received one of these roadmap style type dev press release things? I don't know what to call this. It's a Reddit post made up of multiple paragraphs, and it details what's happening next in the game. Specifically, they're going over what's planned for the Accelerator program. And yeah, it's garnered some controversy. There are a lot of people kind of upset about this, so yeah, let's get into it. The Northwind development team is entering the week 3 of the Accelerator program, and we'd like to inform you of some developmental changes we will be taking as we continue to update and refine the game. Whew, okay. To begin with, I'll mention that everyone should take a note that a wipe, if not multiple, of pounds is imminent at some point after our work in the Accelerator program is complete. Many statements about this have been made in the past, and it may come as a surprise, but it is something that should be expected with an early access title and has been deemed necessary by the development team. So this this came as a shock to a lot of people. Yeah, it's not hard to see why. For the longest time, we thought, man, they're never going to wipe anything, We thought, oh, we're safe. Yeah, evidently not. Evidently not, and so the market's transformed into like 1920s Germany, and everyone's, pounds are worthless. It's so funny because this is all taking place, right? The wipe is all taking place in 3 months, and yet people are acting like it's all happening tomorrow. So, yeah, the market's in shambles right now. It's not hard to see why. A lot of people think this is because of dupers, because duped currency and all that. I choose to think otherwise because, well, for starters, most of the dupers, all that stuff was kind of nipped in the bud. There's not that much duped currency out in circulation. And second off, it makes a lot more sense that they're resetting the economy so that players try out all the new features they're proposing because, well, currently a lot of people are very rich in this game. Actually, most people currently have a lot of money. And so people just aren't going to be that interested in the new money-making methods and techniques that are being added with this proposed update. Yeah, how do I put this? Bill Gates doesn't feel the incentive to work a 9 to 5, Why would he? He's Bill Gates. And I think that's kind of the premise here. We have our money. A lot of people, even new players, have a decent chunk of money right now, and we're not going to experience all the new stuff the update's bringing if we have no reason to. So I think that's why this pound wipe, if not multiple pound wipes, is coming. Multiple, obviously, like if the devs make something ridiculously overpowered by mistake, if they make this feature that generates a ton of money and people start exploiting it, right? They obviously need to reset the economy again. So that's why they say this, if not multiple, disclaimer. Yeah, I mean, I'm mixed. I understand why so many people are really bent out of shape. I don't know. It kind of feels like a necessary evil, though. There's no other way, which is unfortunate. So let's move on. This next bit's a beefy boy, so we gotta talk about this for a while. Okay. Several changes are planned involving resources and crafting. The biggest change in this regard is the separation of utility and cosmetic resources. This separation will, for example, require players to use higher tier planks, such as rosewood, to craft higher tier equipment, such as a Clark musket, also known as a Springfield. However, players will be able to use wood of any other type to determine the cosmetic material of the crafted item. So this is an interesting change. I'm kind of split on it. Essentially, right, all the craftable things, right, so from tool sets to weapon sets are going to require additional materials. So if I wanted to make a blunderbuss, right, let's say I make a pine iron blunderbuss. Typically, I'd, get 3 logs, 3 pine logs, and 3 iron ingots, right? 6 in total, right? 3 logs, 3 ingots. Now it looks like I'm gonna have to get maybe like a birch, like a bunch of birch logs and a bunch of mahogany logs, maybe 3 mahogany logs, and then the 3 pine and the 3 iron. So, I'm not really sure about that. it's just extra materials required to make the weapons and tools and such you unlock at adept level, expert level, and then master level smithing, right? I'm not quite sure about that. And yeah, obviously it promotes the usage of all of these log types that are otherwise not frequently used, but it also discourages players from using these weapons when they can just use, just like go get like a Jaeger rifle, or in some extreme cases a jezail. So I think this is going to start pushing people away from typical weapons. Like I really do, and so I'm kind of worried about that. So I would recommend making Jaegers considerably harder to acquire, and even to some extent making jezails harder to acquire, because I mean jezails aren't that common in the first place, but this community is so old and we've all been at this game for so long that there's a ton of jezails out in the market. So I would strongly recommend making them even rarer than they are currently. Okay, let's move on then, because that was a bit of a tangent. We also plan to have much more focused resources per island, requiring players to have to travel to specific islands to gather specific resources, rather than them being spread across all islands or biome as they are now. So, I mean, that makes sense. We always knew that would happen. They described that in the first of these Reddit posts, like 10, 12 months ago. So, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. We expect that. Oh, hold on. There you go. Crafting and processing stations will also become more focused, requiring players to go to hub islands to do most of their work after gathering. Crafting will specifically be broken into tiered stations, with the best available on hubs, second on tier or resource islands, and lowest tier being available for placement in homes and in forts. So that's interesting. I think it makes sense. I mean, the devs have been trying to find a way to like give us like smithing stations and anvils buildable in our own houses for quite some time, and I think this is the way to do it. Islands like Ellesmere and whatever other resource islands are coming in the next update are going to have like the second tier of these specialty stations. So maybe like those islands can have can create like expert level smithing tools or some shit. I guess. I don't really know. And then, like, the tier 3 of these specialty anvils and furnaces and what have yous are only going to be found on these hub islands, which I guess would be like the Isle of Rupert, right? With St. Paul and JB. So, I mean, I think that's what they're going for. I think it's a good idea. I like it. Then we've got 2 left here. Crafting will also be delayed for every item crafted, where crafting 50 planks, for example, might take 2 or 3 minutes to complete. That's an interesting feature. Feels okay. A lot of games similar to Northwind have that kind of thing. The only thing I'd be worried about is if it's some sort of crafting station outside safe zone, can someone steal the crafting materials while it's being crafted? Like if someone comes over and like kills you while you're making your 50 planks, can they just take those 50 planks? Who knows? So yeah, that's the only complaint I'd have. Then finally, server hopping for resources will also be disabled in a seamless manner so as to not disrupt gameplay, while also making resource spawn times more relevant. Maybe that makes sense. We all knew that was coming eventually, It's gonna make resources considerably harder to acquire in the first place, which is kind of sad. Yeah, I don't know. It makes sense. It's necessary evil we gotta put up with. All I can really recommend is get your resources now before this update comes out. And then a little closing paragraph here. Altogether, these changes will cause more items in Altogether, these changes will cause most items in the game, specifically resources and their processed counterparts, to rise significantly in value and relevance. Game progression will also be more organic, requiring players to journey throughout the game world or to alternatively purchase necessary resources to progress in the game or otherwise equip themselves. So essentially it's giving them other options to acquire the assorted logs and ingots they'd need to mine and smith otherwise. So I mean that makes sense. This is all a very interesting concept. It's essentially making materials much more important to the game. And I can agree with that. That's a good idea. That's a very good idea. Alright. Additionally, we have big plans for the features that we are working on during the Accelerator program that we would like to share with you. The Global Economy feature will allow players to acquire crates of resources from new warehouses, either by filling them via contract or by buying them. Resources native to an island can be exported in these crates to other islands, allowing merchants and gatherers to make money collecting and shipping these goods. These resources can be bought from any warehouse as long as they are stocked at that location. So this is interesting. From what I understand, it's Northwind done Tradelands style. Sorry, let me reiterate. Tradelands done Northwind style. Makes sense. What I'm really wondering though is how this system works. Essentially, you got an island that has a lot of rosewood. You go buy a rosewood crate from them. You bring it to a warehouse on an island that is far away from it without rosewood. You sell it. You make profit. But what I'm wondering is, will players then go to the warehouse you've sold your crate of rosewood at and be able to purchase individual rosewood logs? I assume that's what this is implying, but I don't really know. And if that's what this is implying, I think that would be kind of unbalanced because, well, then the people who are, on most frequently get that stuff, and then they, maybe they're scalpers and maybe they charge double the price. I don't know. Point is, I'm hoping that's not what they mean. I'm hoping the crate stays a crate and it's not broken down into individual items which are then sellable to the public. I'm hoping the crate stays a crate, is what I'm trying to say. We'll see. I have no idea. This feature needs to be explained a little bitsy more by the devs. And now ships. Ship sailing will allow players to travel between islands and to ferry cargo either for themselves or for the aforementioned global economy system. Ships are by no means a defining or flagship feature of our game, and as such will mostly be limited to this utility for travel. As such, ships will not be player-driven on islands, only in sea maps between islands. Ship combat and customization will be present, however, allowing you to decorate your ship with cosmetics and utilities similar to a home, and to defend or plunder with cannons. So that's pretty cool. I'm kind of disappointed that ships aren't going to be pilotable in the island territories, but it makes sense. For those of you who do not know, they plan on doing this thing essentially, because you know how okay, this is going to be hard to explain. Okay, I'll simplify it. Okay, so there's going to be an island game, right? An island game where you can walk around and stuff. And then you're going to spawn your ship in, and then you're going to travel to a game that's a water game, and it's just a base plate with water on it, and there's going to be I guess storms and weather and shit and whatever. And then you're going to sail across the water game until you hit some sort of teleporter, which will take you to another island game. It's not all one thing. It's broken up into chunks because that's Roblox for you. And so that's essentially how this is going to work. And so I originally, like most people, thought that ships would be pilotable and controllable by the player on all games, but it looks like only the central game, which is the ocean faring game, will have that feature. Which kind of sucks, but what can you do? I mean, it makes sense. I'm sure ships, I think they'd probably break a whole lot of aspects of island survival, imagine ships sailing up and down the Isle of Rupert Island. It's I don't know. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with latency, and then game balancing. I don't know why, but it's a shame we're not getting it regardless. My assumption is there's going to be some sort of AI, I guess, that drives your ship around on these island games. Maybe this is a cutscene or something of your ship pulling away, before it enters this ocean faring game. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what they add. But that's the deal with ships. Kind of sad they're not controllable the entire time, but what can you do? And then we've got this fun feature, farming. We will be working on farming during the program, with farm plots likely being attached to a player home and allowing you to grow fruits and vegetables based on the climate of the island. That's pretty cool. I know a lot of players really wanted that. My only concern would be I doubt there's much of a demand for crops, you know? I mean, maybe they'll sell for a lot, like on the markets. Maybe you can like make crates of corn or some shit. Um, but I doubt there's going to be much of a player demand for fruits and vegetables. In the same way, there's not much of a player demand for fish currently. I mean, people like their ingots, and people are going to like their logs now after this update. I don't see much of a place for it in the player economy. So, yeah, cool feature. I think a lot of players are definitely going to have cornfields and stuff. I don't think they're going to be tradable between players. My assumption is there will be NPCs that will buy your corn or whatever else you're going to grow. You know. Yeah. So interesting feature. Definitely glad it's added to the game, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. Now we've got this little wrap up. Many smaller features have been completed or planned for the program, such as UI improvements for banks, the ability to minimize notifications, the ability to pin contracts, and more. We have also made the switch to the new atmosphere-based lighting, which makes the game look much more beautiful. Lastly, much will be done to balance the stats of the game, with many weapon, food, and value stats being changed by the end of the program, so I've got to redo that series. Cool. But yeah, some good stuff here, you know. Bank UI overhaul, ability to minimize your notifications, ability to pin contracts, new lighting, atmospheric lighting system, very cool. So all good things, you know. I'm praying that they do something like publishing the new stats of weapons and shit, because it's kind of tiresome figuring them all out, you know. I'd like them to describe them to us, but I mean, I guess I get why they don't. I guess I don't know, it just makes me sad, but what can you do? Alright, finally, we'd like to clarify the impact of the program upon the state of the game's completion. We consider the current state to be an alpha of the game, which, with most core features being completed during the program. As such, after the progress we make is added to the game, we will consider it to be an official beta state. At this stage, we plan to complete any necessary content, such as additional islands, optimizations, bug fix, and anti-exploit refinement. We hope for a full release before 2022. Okay. I mean, we knew most of that, honestly. We knew, yeah. I'm hoping for a price reduction after they release this update, you know, because they're saying, hey, this is the beta. The game's going to be in beta after this summer internship ends around August 30th. Yeah, I'm hoping for a price reduction, honestly. We saw that when it went from the like early access phase into the alpha phase, from 800 Robux to 400. Remember that way back when. And yeah, now I'm hoping when it goes into the beta phase, it's gonna drop to like 150, maybe 125 if we're lucky. So yeah, we'll see. And then I'm very hopeful because they say they're gonna try and release before like January, which is awesome. We're glad to have our dev team back. You know, they disappeared for 80 some months and they're back again. We're over the moon. We're glad to have them back. All right, so let's finish this out. We understand that some of these changes may not be well received, but we hope that you will see the benefits we aim for with them, and that you share our enthusiasm for the future of the game. Well, I definitely share that enthusiasm. Play Northwind, Northwind developers. So yeah, a lot of good stuff here. Some definitely... Wait, what's that do? That did nothing. Okay, so a lot of good stuff here. There's definitely some controversial features. A lot of people are very bent out of shape over the pound wipe. I totally understand why. And then a lot of people are very confused about this whole extra materials required for crafting. I see no reason to make crafting any more difficult than it is currently. A lot of new players are going to be coming to this game. I see no reason to overcomplicate things more than they already are. This is a very complex game with a lot of very complex things to learn. You know, this is one hell of a learning curve, all I'm saying. So I don't really see any merit in making it any more long and, tedious than it is currently. Whatever, you know, we'll have to see. We'll see what they do to balance this. Oh, oh, cool. We'll see what they do to balance this concept, but it's just further, you know, what's predict? No, further compelling, I guess you could say. It's just further compelling people to use guns like the Jaeger and the jezail, you know. And so I'm not really on board with that concept. I think if they want to add this to the game, you know, they need to make the Jaeger and the jezail considerably harder to acquire in the first place. So yeah, that's my thoughts, and this has been Northwind Accelerated, you know. Thank you all for watching, and I'll keep you up to date on what's coming in the future.